Good morning. My name is Tim Hirsch, and I'm feeling a little concerned because whenever the congregation wants to describe some history, especially some deep history, I get called on. 40 years and some change. Today, we celebrate the anniversary of our congregation's move into this building, our church home. It's our church home now for 40 years. Before we moved here, we met in a variety of rented places and in homes. In 1980 and 81, we were meeting in the King's Daughters Hall on Illinois Street. Do you know where that is? No? Okay. They offered to sell us their little building for $22,000. Instead, we chose a committee to help find a new place to meet. We looked at churches for sale on Hodgeboom and on Birch Street, and at a Friday night potluck in February, Brian Larson mentioned that the Emmanuel Lutheran Church on Farwell Street was for sale and that we might be able to get it at a bargain price. Some of us visited the building, this building, but the price was $74,000 out of our range. We had $1,100 in our bank account. We talked with members of the Emmanuel Building Committee and learned that the only offer they had was from a St. Paul pizza chain who wanted to transform the church into a pizza shop with a Dracula theme. They had been acquiring other churches at that time and doing that, and so we would have been one of several. The Lutherans did not want to sell to the pizza people, and they encouraged us to make our best offer. Well, after consulting with the finance people at the UUA and at the UU-affiliated Veach Foundation, we discovered that we might be able to get adequate financing to offer $42,000. The Emmanuel Lutherans, who were in the middle of building their new church on Gulf Road, accepted our offer. We applied for and were granted a $20,000 loan at 5% interest from the UUA and another $22,000 interest-free from the Veach Foundation. We provided $1,000 in earnest money out of our bank account, which left us, I guess, about $100. The adult members of our congregation met here in the gathering room, right back there, to decide whether or not to make an offer for this building and to apply for the loans. There were 20 of us. The vote was 19 yes to 1 no. A few years later, when we were having difficulty paying our bills, there were 6 or 7 people who insisted that they were the ones who had voted no. I know who it was, though. As part of our agreement with the Lutherans, they would remove most of the stained glass windows and replace them with clear glass. They also left us some of the furnishings. This pulpit, for example. Whoops. This was the baptismal fount. We used to have an altar also, but eventually Chris sold it. I don't know what happened to it. When we first moved here, we held our services in the gathering room, and we sat in a circle. A Sunday morning attendance of 20 was typical. This sanctuary seemed too big for us, and besides that, sometimes small pieces of plaster would fall from the ceiling. The UU district administrator of the Prairie Star District at that time, Emil Goodman, came to visit, and after attending one of our services, he challenged us to begin meeting in the sanctuary instead of the gathering room. If you do, he said, you will grow into this space. You took the risk of buying this beautiful big old building. Now you take the risk of making it work for you. We took his advice. I think the first time we met in the sanctuary was a winter solstice service, and we had 35 people. Meeting in this space, instead of a circle of chairs, transformed us from a seminar discussion group into a congregation. With this transition, it was easier for us to have congregational ceremonies, singing, readings, chalice lightings, joys and concerns, even sermons. We organized a choir. Some people, of course, complained that we had become too high church. But most of us found spiritual nourishment in this new dimension of our services. With new access to a space like this one, we were able to have weddings, funerals, concerts, public rallies and lectures, and poetry readings. The first community table was held here in our lower level. This building helped us make the transition from a stealth congregation, where you had to be in the know to find us, to a visible, open, welcoming presence in Eau Claire. Over the years, we fixed the ceiling and almost every other part of the structure that needed work inside and out. And if you run into Bob Jankowski, he's responsible for most of that, so thank him. This building is on the National Register of Historic Places and on Wisconsin and Eau Claire historical designations too. In 2004, we opened an addition to the original building, and we have those spectacular windows created by Lori Beasy. That one called Out of the Universe We Come, she called it. We have moved out of the shadows into full sunlight. We thank all of you for coming through the doors of the UUC. We thank you for your dedication, your courage, your shared ideas, and your powerful work that keep this a welcoming church home for so many people. Happy 40th, dear friends.
So it's 40 years and some change. There's a little joke with that since we're a little over 40 years in the building. And also change. There's been a lot of change. When I came here in 2010, we still had big green doors that some people would say, "Are you guys closed?" And we've had the addition of this window, and so many things have happened in this space. We have grown from 167 people since 2010 to over 250 now in 2022. We have figured out how to use technology, how to gather hybrid and remote at home. We have weathered storms and COVID and so many things that have rocked our community in this space. And the question is, what makes a sanctuary? And I think of the word sanctuary, the old movies where people would try and find a place that would offer them safety. And I think this space has offered many people a home, a place where they can come out of the cold, figuratively and literally, both religiously, for those who have not found a place that welcomes them. They can walk into here, pagan, Jewish, atheist, seeker, and be themselves and not have to check their identity at the door. And also, I love what Tim said about our visibility. To be a sanctuary is also to be visible, to say what we believe in, to offer our space for issues like reproductive choice, to offer our space for recovery meetings, to stand up for people who are unable to speak or have trouble speaking for themselves. And so how does this place continue to be 40 years and some change from now? Can you imagine the Jetsons? Are we, 40 years from now, who will be standing or sitting or, will we have an accessible stage? Right now, we put our little temporary ramp up. What will this space look like? I have faith that the energy and sweat and blood and tears and financial investment and love that imbues these walls will make this an institution that will last. And thanking Bob Jankowski for the historic building preservation, Jane Redmond, who helps beautify this space, the worship committee that helps us put on beautiful services, our hospitality that welcomes us after service, and so many people that beautify the gardens, like Sarah and Beth, who've been doing the gardens this year. And it takes all of these little energies. And when someone walks in the door crying, and somebody just goes and holds their hand and listens, and if somebody comes up here and needs support, we're there for them. So 40 years and some change means that not only has this building changed, we've had the addition, we've had new windows, we have doors that we can see through and have lots of wonderful light. Downstairs, we have new carpeting that makes it sound so lovely during the harvest auction. But what is the change that we ourselves are going through as a people? How will we welcome? How will we be present to each other? And I think over the years of the changes that we've had, our name tags sometimes sporting which pronouns we are, our ability to use language that welcomes people regardless of their belief, and I think an awareness of identities and beliefs and how our actions impact others. And so when we go downstairs after service and we eat our 40th anniversary cake, I think we can think of that small group of people who gathered and came together for various reasons, some to educate children, some to be together to make a difference. Our choir is saying, yes, we can make a difference. Yes, we can. And to do that, we've invested in this physical presence. I've had people come in and say, hearing your words of welcome, and they're very long, our board welcome's very long, but we list the ways in which people are welcomed, and they said it felt like a life-saving event for them to hear that they were welcome in this sacred space. And so I invite you to think about, how can we make a difference 40 years into the future, 6 months into the future? And what a difference this place has made for you. I know for me, it's helped me become the minister I am. I came here a brand new minister, and I have walked and talked and spent time with all of you and grown, and hopefully we've all grown as a congregation to make an impact on the community and make it so that if someone comes through these doors for the very first time, that they feel like they can make a difference here too and be welcome. So thank you so much for all that you do.